Welcome to the Innovation 4.4 Technology Showcase. Innovation 4.4 is a nonprofit organization based in the US with the mission to accelerate the deployment of technologies and solutions globally, and to do so due to the urgency of some of the challenges that we're facing globally with our oceans, with climate change, with toxicity, with many other challenges. So it took 40 years for full deployment of solar. We don't have 40 years to solve some of these urgent challenges. So our mission, the reason we exist as an organization, is to reduce that time frame to 5 to 10 years, which is closer to the time frame that we have to solve these challenges, and to accelerate that process by reducing the capital needed and the time needed to get to the next milestone. So we do that in a number of ways. We've launched over a dozen programs since 2015, when we were founded after COP21 in Paris, after the signing of the Paris Agreement. And our name, Innovation 4.4, is a reflection of our belief that aligning solutions with nature is what is going to evolve the current challenges that we're facing. And Innovation 4.4 stands for Innovation Aligned with 4.4 billion years of our planetary systems. We have a number of ocean programs, including the technology showcases that we bring to places like COP and WEF and the United Nations World Ocean Conference. We are an official partner to UNFCCC. We brought an innovation showcase inside the UNFCCC pavilion in the Blue Zone at COP26 in Glasgow, and we'll be doing so again in Sharm el-Sheikh this year. We bring together innovators, investors, government agencies, media, and other partners who can help accelerate the adoption of key innovations. So this technology showcase today is one of the ways in which we contribute to accelerating innovation. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first entrepreneur, Beau Perry. Beau Perry and I have known each other for a long time. We actually went to graduate school together. So it's been really a delight to see his journey as an entrepreneur and the impact that he's been creating in the world around ocean solutions. So Beau Perry and Blue3.
Thank you, Lena. It's a pleasure to be here in Lisbon with you after graduating 12 years ago, 14 years ago. We've come a long way. So I'm founder of Blue3. We're the global leader in regenerative ocean solutions for a sustainable future. This is a new company. I've also founded a company called Blue Evolution that is about almost a decade old and is the first company to build seaweed aquaculture on the west coast of North America. So the first farms ever in both Mexico and Alaska. Blue Evolution works on food, feed, agricultural biostimulants, nutraceuticals, cosmetics, and biopharma. And what I found was I needed another lane to deal with climate directly. And Blue3 is just a few months old, and you're some of the first people to hear about it. And we're very excited because this gives us an opportunity to really deal with climate change and ocean acidification in a very targeted and aggressive way. So I see regenerative seaweed as a dark horse to be a climate tech unicorn space. Specifically, we're working on both carbon removal and decarbonization. So carbon capture, storage, and use, plus mitigation, so reducing emissions in key sectors. Our strategy is around co-products, so seaweed can be in many different markets. Even from the same biomass, you can biorefine it and have many fractions. And a key here is the ESG component. Social is often under-addressed, and we've made that a core tenet of our strategy. So there's sustainability and then there's regenerative. Sustainability is essentially about reducing harm. Regenerative is about healing or fixing the problem. I want to call out some key things about seaweed. It's the fastest growing crop, bar none. It's actually many, many crops. So on a per acre basis, it grows faster and takes up more carbon than anything else, and it requires less inputs than any other crop. All I need is seawater, light, and seed. It improves water quality, enhances marine habitat, sustainable livelihoods, which I think are a key part of the climate solution effort. And we are already yielding carbon neutral products and see many pathways to carbon negative products. In creating this new company, I've attracted some real top talent. I'm humbled by my colleagues. I've got someone from BP, someone who worked at DuPont and Del Monte, Gauri Shah, who's our VP of biotechnology. Lena, you know. Our CFO has worked at some significant, Fortune 1000 companies. Jamie Canton is a futurist who's worked on climate for a long time. One of the best seaweed scientists in the world, Dr. Charlie Yarish, and one of the best climate experts on the planet, bar none, Jeff Cohen, who also went to our business program. So we've built supply chains from scratch in these countries. Seed genetics, hatcheries, farms. You see our farm in south of Ensenada, our farm in Kodiak, onshore and offshore. We've done many different processing modalities, and so far my life science company is producing premium food ingredients. So Blue 3, as a non-life science business, is focused on taking biomass, farm biomass, and biorefining it. So we can work at the genetic level, the farm level, to optimize the raw material, and then we want to create fractions. Oh dear, it's supposed to say minerals where that M is. Sorry about that. So minerals go one way. Carbon molecules can go into mitigation and carbon capture, storage, and use. The use is worth a lot more money than just capturing carbon. Biomaterials, we're working in concrete admixtures, and bioenergy. Right now, I just got an email from a biorefining firm in UK that is generating a sample of biocrude from our seaweed. And then there's protein. So we could produce carbon negative protein given a non-emitting processing system. So our three product categories: blue carbon, nature-based, and blue carbon addresses ocean acidification, which terrestrial solutions do not. And carbon in the ocean has a shorter fuse than carbon in the atmosphere. The ocean is going to die before land becomes unlivable, let's say. We're working on blue cement with the largest cement provider in Central America, Cementos Progreso, and you can see our samples of concrete with the seaweed as the admixture. This is key. The cement is the sequestration mechanism. So I get to sell the physical product as an admixture, and when they set the concrete, that generates a premium, a double premium carbon credit. Again, nature-based blue carbon. Blue energy. Well, the market is probably under 1% of supply relative to the demand, and seaweed is ready. We don't have enough corn, we don't have enough ag waste. Seaweed is the most scalable biomass on Earth, probably by several orders of magnitude. We're really excited about our genetics program. We are pioneering elite hybrids for seaweed, starting in our Mexico operations with green seaweed. We're now transferring that model to Alaska and have been solicited by Iceland, New Zealand, Singapore, Isle of Man, potentially Zanzibar, to debut operations there, starting with the genetics program. This unleashes awesome power. We've quintupled our corn yields over the last century. I think we can do that or better in seaweed in the next 10 years. As we expand globally, we need an IT backbone. Okay, I'm very interested to work with Fruit Punch AI on this. We got to make sure that this carbon is actually being sequestered. We need to develop the tools to farm aggressively with super high yield, super high consistency. So we want to build a IT platform to consolidate and link all of these production hubs. And as I say, we're really trying to expand beyond North America, and unsolicited We have governments and very qualified partners, especially in New Zealand, where we're doing a deal with one of the most, I would say, sophisticated Maori tribes in the Eastern Bay of Plenty, and working directly with the New Zealand government on setting up the policy. We have to build the plane while we're flying it. And Iceland as well is ready to rock and roll. They're opening the door, and as a small population, I don't have to wait in line too long to get all the stakeholders organized. This is not just a elective, nice to have. We're working with the Shunak tribe in Alaska, and we have for 4 years now. We're now working with about 50 tribes around Alaska to create a consortium of community-based regenerative aquaculture hubs. So we see relationship with, be it fishing families or indigenous communities, as a pillar of the social benefits that can come with this tremendous climate solution upside. You can see there in Kodiak, our processing is powered by wind and hydro, almost 100%. That's how we're able to do carbon neutral outputs, FOB. In Mexico, we're not just creating jobs, we're creating entrepreneurship opportunities. So when we show up, we need all kinds of services to support us, and people are adapting their business to become partners in building these supply chains. And I put here some of the SDG goals that we address. Actually, Seaweed can address a lot of them. These are more the direct ones, but there are also indirect ways where it can support, I would say, about 45% of the SDGs. So our advantages are about leadership, experience, and innovation. We execute, and now other seaweed startups are coming to us. When they get funded, they say, okay, now I actually have to produce. And we're looking to be the back end on 2 feed companies. One's a Danish company, and one's an American company. They've got some interesting technology, sort of benchtop, but now they need scale, and they need to know how to do all of the compliance from seed all the way through to finished product. Regenerative products and services, we're starting to work on AI and ML and blockchain integration. We have decades of experience. Again, my life science company has been in business for 10 years. We have multiple supply chains in North America. We're very interested in partnerships, so we can't do this all by ourselves. We're not trying to throw our arms around the world and fix it all alone, whether it's indigenous tribes or technology providers. Even our customers are soliciting strategic partnerships to develop applications with seaweed. And again, this genetics program is a truly Promethean power. Now, we're not talking GMO or any transgenics. Simply within sort of normal Mendelian breeding, we see, it's hard to even describe the potential. This woman that worked on corn and tomatoes and pink pineapple, I've brought her into the fold on seaweed, and she says, look, seaweeds are extraordinary in terms of the potential to breed for certain characteristics: yield, temperature tolerance, disease resistance, and optimizing specific compounds, carbon-based if you want to do carbon capture, but also for, say, the admixtures for concrete, really enhancing and optimizing the application and benefits of those products. So I'm very excited to be here at this event. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm soliciting capital so we can expand our global network, prove out all of these products and services, and get to work in execution and physically addressing climate directly at scale. So thank you again, Lena. I'm happy to answer any questions later, and appreciate the opportunity.
I would invite a couple of questions. Excuse me, could you, hello? Thank you. I would invite a couple of questions now before we go to our next presenter. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask of Bo? No? Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Bo. Yeah, please. Next, I'd like to invite Protected Seas to share about their work. Very different solution and also very important for the ocean. So Virgil, all yours.
Great. Thank you, Lena, and thank you to the UN Ocean Conference for this wonderful forum in this beautiful city of Lisbon. I'm Virgil Zetterlund, Director at Protected Seas. We're a private California organization. We've been around since 2015, and really interesting interdisciplinary team. We're basically looking to solve targeted ocean problems through information and technology. We're a small team, so what we choose to take on has been very specific, but we bring a background in software development, environmental management, GIS, business, law, and data analysis, and together a lot of experience in a small team. Today I'm just going to focus on two key projects. And again, what we're really seeking to do is both understand human use on the ocean and compare that to what we would see as desirable, sustainable behavior. So Navigator, our first project, is really looking to again, identify what is that desired sustainable behavior as realized in marine protected areas and fisheries management. So, we want to identify what are the actually in place regulations and laws on the ocean so that we can better identify where and how well it's protected. And knowing that leads into our second project, which is Marine Monitor, which is monitoring that human use in those areas to see if it really matches the intent of the laws and regulations, which we hope will then create the outcomes we all need for a healthy and sustainable ocean. So, what is Navigator? Basically, it seeks to answer, the key questions. Where is the ocean protected in terms of the spatial boundaries? Why is it protected? What is the purpose of each of those individual areas? Why were they created? What species and habitats do they protect? How is it protected? Again, what are the actual rules and allowed activities that are in place there? We want to be able to have people answer easily what is allowed, what is prohibited, what is restricted, and then identify who is responsible. The ocean is a multi-jurisdictional place. We find in our work that many places in the ocean have 6 to 20 or more overlapping management authorities with different rules and regulations in place. So disentangling or demystifying that for the ocean stakeholder, whether they're a fisher, a boater, a policymaker, or a conservationist, is really important. And what does the Navigator provide? After 7 years, we've documented and mapped over 110 countries and territories, almost 20,000 areas in the database today. This isn't just an English or Western specific resource. We translate all the research and information we do into the official languages of each country, so it's available to the local population as well. This is all marine protected areas. It also includes fisheries in North America. And the really neat thing is we're on track to finish our global MPA review by the end of this year. And Navigator, I should also mention, is open access. So again, we believe data is power, but that data needs to be available to everyone. So from the beginning, we've done this work to be able to provide navigators an open access, Creative Commons licensed data set for ocean protection. So given the time, moving on, so if we've identified where the ocean's protected, now we need to really quantify human use and impact in the ocean. There's a lot of work in this space, a lot of big investment in things like satellite technology, vessel monitoring systems for commercial and industrial fishing. But there's sort of a last mile problem, which is the nearshore environment where many of our most biodiverse and healthy reefs are located, often in developing countries with very limited resources, and it's very hard to observe what fishing is actually occurring in those places. So that's what we really built Marine Monitor to do, is 24/7 autonomous monitoring that's available at the community level and in the cloud. It needs to be deployable anywhere in the world at low cost and at low maintenance, and it needs to be usable by stakeholders, again, at any education level and with any type of technology. What are the types of applications that Marine Monitor enables? We want to enable local fishing enforcement. We want to enable science. So again, that human use information intersected with biodiversity, intersected with an ecology or weather or climate. And we want to increase maritime safety. There's a give back in these systems to these communities, again, that are often in very underserved, locations that don't have a lot of safety resources or other things as well. This gives the community a better picture of what's happening on the water. Like I said, this needs to be easily deployable. So this really is the package. Just it's a self-contained box, very low maintenance computing, and then a radar unit, an AIS antenna, and a camera. We've deployed these in ad hoc installations on rooftops, temporarily, using cinder blocks, all the way up to very well done, engineered, permanent installations. But that's really the kit. And again, a lot of places don't have infrastructure. When we first deployed our first systems, power was our biggest issue. We would have internet without fail, but we could not get grid power reliably. So we designed a solar battery system and added it to a cargo trailer. So now this system can be deployed basically with a small pickup truck anywhere you can get to a coastline. Someone can set this system up in about an hour, and it can be collecting data and pushing it to the cloud. They can tear it down and move it in about an hour. Now again, this is sort of the hardware side, so making the hardware, it's all commercial off the shelf, all hardware with global distribution chain. But the next step was, again, we wanted the data, the information to be usable and really easy. And a typical radar system is not really easy. Radar traditionally was something you had to be trained to use. It took a lot of experience to get comfortable with it and understand what it was. Again, interpreting basically all that red intensity image, that was sort of what you had to learn to do. You had to have a human watch it all the time. But of course, what we really want is not so much the radar, but that orange there, the boat activity. That's what we really need. And so in our software, what we do is abstract that to the end user. They can use a web browser, their mobile phone, and they're looking at the vessel track, not the radar. They can put the radar on if they want for further interpretation, but ultimately it's about the track, and then because we steer a camera with the radar, it's about the picture. So they can see the track, we can geofence and look at behaviors, do alerts, then they can see the photos and see, is that a fishing vessel, a pleasure vessel, a diving vessel, should it be there? And then if they do have enforcement out on the water, we also have a mobile application so that they can get that information in real time to help facilitate getting out and finding those people violating the rules. M2, we've currently deployed in over 20 locations worldwide. One of the reasons we're here at this conference is both support for new locations where they are needed and also financial support to deploy those to the local communities. This last year we had our major success in California, one of the first documented uses of radar data in an enforcement proceeding. So our system was able to capture a commercial fishing boat, enter a no-take marine protected area. NOAA and Coast Guard law enforcement intercepted them at the same time, and in the prosecution package, they actually included our radar and photographic data as well as further evidence to get the fisher to settle out of court for a $5,000 fine, which was the largest to date in California. So with that, again, time is short. I just wanted to end with a short video because it's great and easy for me as the director to talk about our projects, but to give a couple minutes to some of our users and supporters to say what they found valuable.
My name is Constance Charay and I'm a doctoral candidate in the Geography Department at King's College London. My PhD work focuses on marine protected area effectiveness in the Irish Sea. A tool like the Protected Seas Navigator can really help advance marine conservation because without a solid understanding of the regulations underpinning MPAs, we can't effectively assess their conservation measures. The data provided by the Navigator tool can be used in a number of different ways. For example, we recently used it as part of the British Ecological Society's report on protected areas in the UK. The data provided allowed us to determine that less than 1% of our inshore waters are highly protected against fishing activity. Demystifying regulations can be a complicated task, even for local experts. So having a database that is backed by a team with legal expertise is an invaluable resource that will no doubt help shape the future of marine protected areas and their effectiveness.
NOAA's Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary and the California Marine Sanctuary Foundation use Marine Monitor to better understand human activity and also vessel use within nearshore areas of interest, both in marine protected areas and also within NOAA's Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And Marine Monitor is really important and really helpful for the sanctuary and managers throughout the state, since Marine Monitor allows us to understand what vessels are doing in these nearshore areas that don't otherwise have a tracking system or data coming from them. There are a lot of fisheries in California that don't require certain tracking devices within the fishery, and so Marine Monitor allows us to fill this really crucial data gap to understand what human use is looking like within these important protected areas, and also if there's any suspicious fishing activity happening in certain areas where it shouldn't be.
Great. And I just close quickly, have to acknowledge great partnerships to date that have allowed us to get where we are so quickly. And again, we're here always seeking more partners and invite everyone to talk to us after or come visit us at our booth here for more information. And again, thank you, Lena, and thank you to the organizers.
Thank you, Virgil. Next, I'd like to invite Chris Patton to the stage for a number of solutions that I think you'll find interesting and valuable for the protection of our oceans. Chris?
Thank you, Lena. Hi, my name is Chris Patton.
Oh, we need audio. Audio, please.
Is that working?
Yep. Nice.
Hey.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Chris Patton. I'm the president of a company called AlphaCore. We're a New Zealand-based company. We are technology innovation specialists. We specialize in zero-emission, zero-pollution technologies. We have been consulting and advising members of the United Nations and Africa Union for the better part of 20 years now. One of my specialties is I advise on construction and green technology development for hotels and eco-resorts. Our core competency is actually heat to power technologies, and that allows us to build base load technologies, backup technologies, transportation, aerospace, heating, cooling, power, septic, and water. So we're sort of well-rounded in everything you have to do when you go off to a remote area, and you need to provide some sort of solution for any one of these things. And what we generally draw power from is biomass, which is any sort of organic waste heat. We also take surplus waste heat from any thermal process, including a chimney. We have electromagnetic solutions where these heat sources don't exist. We can provide it with a clean source of energy on site without the use of fossil fuels, coal, or nuclear energy. We also take solar thermal, and bioethanol is a big thing for us because we only deal with two areas of fuel with any of our core technologies. That's bioethanol, an organic source of bioethanol, including kelp-based alcohol, but we also do hydrogen on demand for some of our systems. So, 10 years ago, I was working on a 5-star rated eco-resort over in Nibwali. And we had just finished construction after 2 years, and we were hit with a monsoon. And we were just celebrating the release of this amazing place that we were going to invite everybody to come to and surf with the blue whales. And you'd go out there and you could actually pull your food from the gardens that were outside. We'd spent 2 years building up this really beautiful organic garden. And after the monsoon, waves and waves of plastic started flowing up on shore and coming down the creeks, and they filled all of the creeks around us. And I noticed when I went to Bali, these creeks were now 4 to 5 feet high. This was 10 years ago. And it really stuck in my craw about, well, we've handled this really amazing zero emission, zero pollution, 5-star eco resort. We've got all the organic food out there. We're making bioethanol on site to handle all the deforestation issues. Plus, we were getting rid of the glaucoma and all the pulmonary disorder from cooking with all this charcoal. But then we had plastic that continued to flow up onto the shore and come down the creeks. And I thought, well, you know, this is something we have to address, but we really weren't paid to address it there at the time. So my team and I went back, this was 10 years ago, and we thought we need to start working on something that will alleviate this at the point of use. So some of you probably know, and it's not all of you, that these PET bottles that we continue to recycle, they have endocrine disruptors in them. Now, endocrine disruptors cause a lot of problems with biological systems, especially if you're a male. And if you're an amphibian, you can get spontaneous sex change. You can have problems where you actually have sterilization in the entire food chain. So these products right now have completely saturated almost everything we eat right now. That's in the sea, on land. Humans are testing for it. It's everywhere now. So we decided to take something from our power systems and bring it over into the on-site waste elimination program. This is something called Project Dragonfire. Now, Project Dragonfire was something that I originally worked on in the space program as a way of creating a on-site power source that was hydrogen generated that would create a tremendous amount of heat in a very small amount of space with a very small amount of electricity. And that means I'm using radio waves to turn air into fire. Now we're going to be taking a little bit of a jump here, so we're going to be talking about plastic waste annihilation from NASA tech from a closed cycle energy system, and here's how we're doing it. I'm taking electromagnetic waves and I'm heating the water that's in the air. And what happens is I pull it apart very quickly and then it snaps back together. And you get so much energy gain from doing that that I can create a flame that's nearly 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,000 Celsius. What I get out of that, and this is a 12-volt battery igniting air, is I get a flame that is zero pollution, that I can raise the temperature up to 2,000 Celsius if I need to, and I can use it for industrial heating, heat cogeneration on site, or toxic waste annihilation. So one of the things that we have is down in Central California, we've got a 5-acre indoor organic farm that is used as an experimental bioethanol test site. So we take food waste and we can turn that into alcohol. But we can also take plastic and take the polyethylene from a PET bottle and turn it into alcohol as well. Now that gives us a zero pollution technology, and how we do that is we take plastic waste, we heat it inside of a closed chamber where it's not allowed to vaporize out. That's called a gasifier. So it's like taking a 55-gallon drum and heating it. Now normally with these types of systems, you would heat it from the outside. But remember earlier, I showed you that we specialize in electromagnetic systems. So what we've done is we've taken a chamber, we've put an electromagnetic heater on the inside, which is radio waves, and we boil this down within seconds into like a liquid oil. Then we have a system that cracks that oil into alcohol. Now what's not cracked into alcohol and distilled becomes a solid product. So this advanced section of the distillation system is something that we've perfected that uses 90% less heat to make the alcohol, which creates a very high value product within hours. And these are some of the products that we can get by getting it out of the food chain. We take the waste plastic, we hit it with a reactor, we turn it into a petroleum product. Normally that's where people stop, but we process it one more time, we turn it into ethanol, and we get pharmaceutical grade alcohol. The pharmaceutical grade alcohol is worth between $65 and $95 per gallon. It's worth more than the PET bottle that it came from. We can also, out of that, get pure solvents for cleaning on site. But we can also get biochar, and we can also get something that is I'm drawing a blank on it. It's a lubricant. We can get a lubricant. It's a high temperature lubricant that's also used for hydraulic fluid. So we dedicated ourselves 3 years ago to really handling island issues. So we started with on-site waste annihilation, and the intention with this is to build these into 40-foot containers that are double stacked that could be dropped anywhere in the world where there's a river with plastic waste or an island with plastic waste. What we were finding recently is that we thought most of the plastic waste and most of the PET bottles were being recycled. Well, less than 6 to 10% of all plastic is actually recycled. They bundle it up and it goes someplace. And if it doesn't go someplace, they burn it at night. So we thought, okay, well, this is a problem because it's really working itself in the food chain, but it's also being breathed, it's also being eaten, it's working itself everywhere. So one of the other things we're working on here is power on demand. As you saw with that heat source also works as a thermal reactor for creating power on demand with a 12-volt battery and a solar generator. We also work on air-to-water systems, and the air-to-water systems are ways of taking essentially like a giant air conditioner, and you fill it full of refrigerant, and you take a big aluminum wall, and it sweats water, and you can equate between 800 and 1,800 gallons of clean, drinkable water per day with a 12-volt battery. And that heat source, again, is we create clean heat sources on demand, and that's primarily with the ethanol and with our thermal reactors. And on-site waste remediation. So the gasification system that you saw there earlier, we are looking to expand those out globally in the next 24 months, and we hope to be able to get these things, I think the systems are done. So the technologies are actually complete enough that I think we could probably have these deployed within the next 18 months or so. So we don't believe that extinction is an option, and we are hoping to join forces with all these wonderful people here and deploy these technologies here to you very soon. Thank you very much. Sorry, that was my first time presenting this. I'm a little choppy.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we'll have a little bit of a conversation. So please raise your hand if you have any questions for our entrepreneurs. Chris didn't mention, but the technology, the plastics to ethanol technology involves the technologies that Chris mentioned, plus the distillation. So in a joint venture, SPV, Chris is also raising capital for deploying the units that he mentioned. Any questions from our audience for the entrepreneurs? Go ahead. Yes? Go ahead. The mic is coming.
Wanted to give someone else the opportunity first, but now that we're here, so you said a couple of times you said 12-volt battery, and I know we talked about this yesterday as well, but I would love to hear more about this, and I think more people in the room might be interested in this. Like how are you creating so much power and energy with a 12-volt battery?
Okay, that's a good question. So my original background is I had a gold and diamond exploration company in West Africa in the mid-1990s. And one of my specialties was plasma waste remediation and ore separation. Now, hydrogen comes in 7 delicious flavors. It's monatomic, it's diatomic, it's very energetic, and you can do very creative things by exposing it to high voltage current and high frequency electromagnetic waves, and it'll swell and it'll take that energy. And then when you've pushed it past that field, it releases all of it at the same time. So what I can do is I can take a 12-volt battery and I can electrolyze water. If I'm making this hydrogen, let's say I'm on a remote island, what I can do is I can take an electrolysis system, I take that hydrogen that's being produced by that water, and I run it through a high-frequency electromagnetic field, and it alters it. It turns it into H11. And when it alters it, I can actually heat the air up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. Excuse me. So when I do that, I can take a zero-emission, zero-pollution heat source, and I can affect almost any material on the periodic table, because that hydrogen that you're now creating, that special hydrogen, is not really a 5,000 degree flame. It's actually considered a cold flame, and it reacts with the material that's in front of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is.
So that's how I'm able to sort of trick things a little bit. I'm not actually making a real standard hydrogen flame that's around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm actually making a hydrogen flame that's closer to about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. But when it comes into contact with, say, a kiln that I'm using as a gasification system, it reacts with the metal. And then suddenly the temperature at the point of contact will soar up to 2,000 to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. Good stuff.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Yep. Oh, excuse me, we need the mic back here. Thank you.
In my case, it's not a question, it's an introduction. I would like to introduce Gabriel because he's very interested in everything we are doing here. He's from the Ocean Beer, and I think it will be very useful for you to know him about the foundation and the business plans that he has. Okay?
Awesome.
That's why I invited him.
Awesome.
Here
Thank you,
you need to see
appreciate
these people.
Good deal.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, well, I'm, as she said, from Ocean Beer, but Ocean Beer is part of the Oceanborn Foundation, and we are launching at the end of this year. We're starting a round to raise 100 million euros to invest in impact companies, startups, and I look forward to meeting you later and discussing a little bit more about your wonderful project. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you. Anyone else with questions? Oh, we have another question in the front, please. Thank you.
So this one is for Bo. I'm really interested in you talked about some amazing stuff that you're making out of this seaweed. Could you go into how you're turning seaweed into these products a little bit more, or is that your secret?
Well, I can walk the fine line, I think.
Okay.
You know, on the life science side, compliance is really a challenge. So food, feed, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, biopharma, the whole processing paradigm is around compliance. Say SQF, GMP, organic, non-GMO, all of those things. So that's really a different mindset, different skill set. That's why that's really a big part of why I created two lanes, two companies. On the Blue 3 side, it's refining in the more classic sense. So you can use heat, you could use anaerobic digestion, etc. I'm very interested in working with Chris because of the energy gain. I need heat is probably the sort of brute force way to do it. One key for us is to extract the protein before we do these non-life science refined products. Like, you don't need protein in biofuel, right? Protein's very valuable, so we optimize the feedstock for the biorefining by removing the protein first. Same with the concrete admixture, although I think protein may have some benefits in that application as well. And then on the blue carbon credit side, we're basically refining data, right? So there's a lot happening around the farm, from the seed all the way to the finished product. The key is to sort of curate, audit, and verify through third parties the data that is associated with those supply chains. And really, for carbon credits, it's garbage in, garbage out. I come from California. A lot of our forests were sold as offset sinks, and then they burned. So those were written off as credits, and then all forests in California going forward are going to face a steep discount. And there's a lot of snake oil carbon credits out there that don't actually associate with the physical reality. So we need to make the refining of the seaweed data that a company, it's like a twin of the physical reality. We need that twin to be identical and sort of bulletproof because we need to spend a lot of money to suck the carbon out of the system, and it's really important to have good accounting. So that's really what we're focused on, and why we brought in really one of the best climate experts on the planet to help make sure that that blockchain is really a solid foundation for all of the potential mitigation, carbon capture, and storage use pathways that we take.
Wonderful. We are unfortunately out of time, and there's another session, but I wanted to say, Bo mentioned collaboration. Some of the most exciting part of our work, am I coming through? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. Some of the most exciting part of our work is seeing the synergies between the many solutions that we look at and work with, and being able to connect entrepreneurs and companies to collaborate. I've done diligence on over 16,000 early stage companies. We see about 20 companies a day come through. And so we really can see those opportunities to optimize and accelerate the implementation of solutions needed by creating these synergies between solutions. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for your attention, and hope you found some value and learned a few things from our entrepreneurs. If you're interested in speaking with them or with us more about the work that's been presented today, please reach out to us. My email is lena@innovation44.com, and I'm happy to engage with you and see if there's any opportunities to partner going forward. So thank you again, and we thank our entrepreneurs for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your time here in Lisbon.